I'm really honored to introduce the first of two terrific guest speakers today. We're very lucky to have both with us today. And not only is our first guest speaker ready to show you parts of the river that many of us haven't seen, and maybe after what you see is down there, you don't want to go down there. But Helen Cooper and Brockville Dive and Adventure Center and Avic Scuba, they also step up in the spring, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation. And Helen provides a very capable captain and almost a perfect boat for shoal marking. And Helen, I can't thank you enough for the work that you do and the help that you give us. And to have you here with us this morning is a great honor. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Helen Cooper and her presentation, Under the St. Lawrence. Helen, take it away.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me along. It's a huge honor to be here chatting with everybody this morning. I just want to thank the Thousand Island Association for everything that you do, because it's much appreciated by everybody. And as a local business on the river, everything that you do is much appreciated. So thank you to this association. And we're honored and always happy to help you in your mission. So this morning, well, I guess still this morning, I was asked to talk a little bit about what we do to work with the Thousand Island Association, and also a little bit about what we do on the river ourselves. I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. My name's Helen Cooper, and I own the Dive Brockville Adventure Center in Brockville, and we also have AGM Scuba Charters. We've got 5 dive boats now, 4 on the river and 1 on Lake Ontario out of Picton. And so we have been working with preserving our underwater marine heritage for about 27 years now. And we've grown over the years. And one of the things that became important to us was preserving the shipwrecks and also helping to preserve boats in general. And so that was how we started working with the Thousand Island Association with putting out rock markers. So just a little bit of background. We've all been trying to decide exactly how long we've been working with the Thousand Island Association with putting out the rock markers every spring and retrieving them in the fall. And nobody can really remember, but we think it's about 10 years now. And it's kind of a cute little story, because I guess there was one year that the Brockville Yacht Club's boat wasn't working. It broke down. And they contacted me and asked if we could possibly provide a boat to help them get the rock markers out, which of course we said, for sure, we'd love to help. So they asked my captain, Vince, how many markers he thought that we could fit on the boat. And he asked how many markers they had to put out. And the answer was 12. And he said, oh yeah, okay, we're good. We'll fit them all on. And they were absolutely pleasantly, wonderfully surprised, because what they had been doing every year was putting 2 rock markers on a boat, taking them out and placing them, coming back, grabbing another 2 rock markers, going out and placing them. And it would take them about a week to get all the 12 rock markers out and in position. Luckily, with our boat, which is sort of a big platform, it's a big pontoon boat, it's a perfect platform for getting the rock markers out. And so we can do in 3 hours what used to take a whole week to do. So yeah, we're very happy to do that. And it's always fun to get out there in the spring before everybody else. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we do it and what we do. If I can, oh, there we go. It's just loading. I thought it was already done that. So anyway, so the rock markers themselves, we work with the Brockville Yacht Club, and currently we've been working with Dave Tolton. I think I said his last name correctly. And basically we go to the yacht club, we load up all the markers. I don't know why is this still loading? Anyways, I'll just keep talking until it decides it's gonna go on to the slides. So we load up all the rock markers, and they usually have 2 representatives from the yacht club that comes along with our captain. Sometimes I go along too for the ride. And we have to know exactly where to put the rock markers. So we have a list of GPS coordinates. Of course, we always know roughly where the shoals are, but you want to make sure that you put the rock marker in just the right spot so that, ideally people will stay away from the shoals and not hit them. Especially with the low water level this year, it's more important than ever that the rock markers were in the right place. So with the general idea of where we're heading to and the GPS coordinates for the exact position. So I've got some pictures of the guys that came out from the from the Brockville Yacht Club, and they have these beautiful stickers on them so that if ever any of the rock markers drift out of position or come loose, this way they can always be returned to you guys and put back into position. And you can see, I think that's Dave in that picture, looking very proud. But they're really nice spar buoys, and they're kept in great shape. So you can kind of get an idea of how it works with our boat. We can load up the rock markers quite well and use brake drums to weight them down, and the chain. So here we see, I think we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. I think we've actually got 16 rock markers on the boat here. So there's lots of room to work, and I think it's great for the guys to have a little extra room to put the things together. So we head out on the river now with a general idea of where we're going, and we've got a GPS coordinate for the shoals that we're going to mark. And then it's a case of bringing the boat in very carefully and very gently, and just looking for the exact right spot. So sometimes we have to move around a little bit. Obviously, Vince has to make sure that he doesn't hit the shoal himself. But luckily, we've got a big front platform, as you can see here, and so we can keep our engines away from the shoal, which is perfect. So you can see here, they've got to make sure that they put the chains on securely with shackles. And they usually put a security safety chain on the shackles as well to make sure that they won't come apart. They have to last the whole season. So they have their routine, and they make sure that everything is put together properly and safely. And here you see them getting ready to put it in the water. They're looking down to see exactly where the rocks are. And as soon as they decide it's the exact right moment, they'll throw it overboard. Now, sometimes it doesn't always go into the exact right spot that we like. And so it just means we just have to go back in and retrieve it. Sometimes you can drag it a little bit, but sometimes we have to pull them back out and then drop them back in again. But it just makes it more fun for us anyway. So here we have another picture here of the rock marker. This looks like it's up by, I'm going to say, I think this is up by Sparrow Island. I think this is the one that's just up from Sparrow Island that goes right there. So that's a nasty little shoal because it's a really deep area, and it's a very fast flowing current through there. So that's a very important one to have on. So here we are, we've just thrown it in. So now the mission is to back away with the boat and just see where it lands up and hope that it is in the right spot. So this one here is in front of 5 Mile Light. 5 Mile Light is just off to the right here. So that was a nasty shoal whilst 5 Mile Light wasn't there, but now they have reconstructed it. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's they've done a beautiful job of reconstructing 5 Mile Lighthouse. I do have a picture of it, but I couldn't find it to put in my presentation today. That would have been a good one. But I'm almost thinking we should almost put a rock marker in front of the old Dockers Marina, which is all completely submerged now, because there's always a worry that the sea-doers that run along the shoreline are going to hit that. But anyways, so rock markers in position. You can see that they stand upright. They're very visible. And I mean, everybody appreciates them. And so I have been making a point in the last few years of making sure that boaters and divers and just people in general are aware of the fact that somebody actually puts these rock markers out for them and their boats so that they don't hit the shoals. It's amazing how many people take it for granted that the rock markers are just there, and they don't actually think about how they get there or who puts them there. And so I'm hoping that my mission actually helped increase some of the membership this year as well. I talked to a lot of local businesses and said that they should be supporting the Thousand Island Association for all the many good things that they do. And anybody who has a boat should definitely appreciate and be a member of TIA because of the rock marker program alone. So this is a picture of Vince running the Helen Sea. So if you see any of our boats, they've got these funky blue waves on them. Kind of matches my dive shop, which also has blue waves. The whole shop is a mural if you haven't been into Brockville to see it. But this is our dive boat that we've been taking divers out diving on the river for, 27 years now, I guess. This is Vince here. He's your trusty captain that pretty much has taken the Brockville Yacht Club out for the 10 years. As I said, I've done it a couple of times to help out, but it's pretty much Captain Vince that's been taking care of it. And he volunteers his time. He doesn't let me pay him to take the boat out. So I volunteer the boat. He volunteers his time. And so we all kind of work together for a good cause. So thank you to Captain Vince. So just some more pictures of the rock markers on the boat. They are quite heavy. So, the guys that put these in are definitely working. They're doing a good day's work in putting them out. So the other thing that I do is I also work with Save Ontario Shipwrecks. I'm actually the vice president of Save Ontario Shipwrecks Thousand Island chapter. And we also put out buoys for the shipwrecks that we dive on. And there are a number of different reasons for that. It's not only providing a marker so that divers know where the shipwrecks are in order to go diving. We're actually working at protecting our marine heritage. And by making sure that there's a safe mooring on each of the shipwrecks means that divers don't have to drag an anchor to find them. They don't have to go down and tie off to the wreck itself. So we're doing this as a way to protect the wrecks. And we like to think of ourselves as underwater curators of a museum. So these are the SOS buoys being loaded onto the boat. So every year, similar to the rock markers, we load up the marker buoys, and they're sort of done in the similar fashion, just with a much heavier chain and bigger shackles. But the same thing as they do with the rock markers, they make sure that the shackles are on tight and they put a safety chain on them. This was kind of a cool excursion this spring. We actually had some divers on board for the putting out of the spar buoys. And not only is there a freighter in the background, which is one of my other passions. If anybody knows me, if they're on St. Lawrence ship watches, they'll have seen all my pictures and videos of ships going by. But one of the big mandates for Save Ontario Shipwrecks is not only preservation, but education. And so this is Stefan. He's our current chapter president. And he's doing a wreck briefing, but he's also talking about low impact diving. So he's talking with the divers about, you don't touch anything, you leave any bubbles, you take any pictures, you stay away from the wreck, and you preserve it for the next divers to see and enjoy. So this is an up-close picture of how we keep our shackles on safe. There's a safety wire that goes through and is twisted tight and tucked in nicely. And that makes sure that hopefully it will last the season and nothing will undo and they won't drift away. So this is actually our chapter treasurer here, and he's about to throw the marker buoy in. This is on the Muskellunge. And this little green ball is a tagline that we have that makes it easier for the dive boats to come in and attach to the buoy. And you can see Brockville in the background up here. This is Bird Island right here. And this is our treasurer and our president. That's the word I'm looking for. And this is them just putting the safety chain on. And again, instead of the green ball, we've got a blue jug on this particular one. So similar to TIA, we also have an SOS sticker so that if by any chance they did float away, then we can find them. So my next mission, I just moved my operation to Picton, Ontario, on Lake Ontario. And we were having some issues with the moorings there. And so I just started up a brand new chapter, SOS Picton. And we managed to start off with a really huge project, which I was very proud of. We actually worked with the Coast Guard, and the U.S. Coast Guard Griffin came in and dropped a concrete block for us on the wreck of the Florence, so that we no longer had to have a line tied to the wreck itself. We could tie it safely to a concrete block. We had a whole brand new line put in, and SOS Corporate donated this SOS conical buoy for us with a light on top. So it also makes it safer for boaters as well. If there is a proper mooring on these dive sites, they'll realize that it's a proper site. We've had a lot of our plastic jugs cut away because people thought that they were, not there for anything in particular. And so my mission in Picton now is to get all the shipwrecks safely moored, to protect the wrecks, because a number of them are rubbing against the wreck or they're tied directly to the wreck. So I'm working on getting all 12 dive sites safely moored. And we had, this is Raymond Krubb. He is a past president of SOS Corporate, and he was actually doing a mooring training course for us. So he was teaching us exactly how to set up a safe mooring. And so we learned a lot that day about lashings and how to do everything safely. Unfortunately, her head got chopped off in this picture, but this is Elizabeth. She's one of my crew. on AMG, which is my boat in Picton. And this is how we send the line up. When the divers go down to bring the line up in the beginning of the year, they send what we call an SMB up attached to the line. So we then pull it out and attach the new mooring buoy to it. And you can see this weight right here. This is what we zip tie to the line to drop it in the winter. Because with ice and water movement, there's a chance that the jugs will get pulled off, and we don't want to damage our lines. So we just drop them to the bottom for the winter months. This is one of the conical buoys that were donated by the Niagara Divers Association, because SOS Picton is so new and we don't have any proper buoys. We had 5 of them donated by the Niagara Divers Association, old ones that they weren't using anymore. So that's one of these. It's great. There's me holding one of them up. And here's the one on the Florence in action with the divers. And this is one that we have on the city of Sheboygan, and actually POW Kingston puts this buoy in. So you can look carefully. There's a POW sticker on this one. So we're all working together to put proper and safe moorings in. So under the water, the divers, I thought maybe you might be interested in seeing just a couple of things that we have in the local area. So this is an SOS sign that we have at Centene Park. So we have an underwater sculpture park, which some of you may or may not be aware of. And this is what the divers will see when they go down there. We have over 40 statues down there now, life size, as you can see, the diver and the statues are kind of in a circle. And so this has become a very popular tourist attraction, and it's a great way to get divers in the water to practice their buoyancy skills, and again, to practice low impact diving, so that when they actually go out onto the shipwrecks, they're not dropping in on the deck or grabbing a hold of the wreck for their buoyancy control. So got a couple of wreck pictures here as well. I'm not sure how I'm doing for time. I didn't look at what time I actually started my presentation to see how I'm doing, if I'm rambling on. But this particular statue, a lot of people have fun with. They tend to put masks on this guy right here. So sometimes he's a clown, sometimes he's Jason the Chainsaw Massacre. Sometimes there's a whole row of beer bottles sitting on here. So the divers kind of have fun, and it's great for the younger divers too to have some fun and go in there. Now this is a picture of Dave Sheridan's hand, but the top got chopped off. So this is the Florence. So the first wreck that we dropped the block in with the Coast Guard was the wreck of the Florence. And this is what the divers see when they go down. So this is our underwater museum. This is our marine heritage right here. Most of these wrecks in the area are from the 1800s. And as you can see, they're fairly intact. They've got some beautiful, beautiful bowsprits. You can kind of see the face in this one here. And the water in Lake Ontario is a little different from the river. The river is very unique because it's warm, freshwater diving. And because it's a constant flow of water, it's a consistent temperature. So there's no thermocline, which is where the warm water sits on top of the cold water. Whereas in the lake, because it's a bowl of water, the warm water always sits at the top. And so what happens is the divers will go down and they'll suddenly hit the cold water. But in the colder water, we have much better visibility. And so this is down at just over 100 feet, and this is ambient light. So this is the great visibility. And to give you an idea of the size of the shipwreck, there's a couple of divers here with their flashlights up in the top corner here. So that's the end of my slides. I'm not sure how long I've been, but does anybody have any questions? I'm not sure if the members can speak, or if they need to send their questions into Renee.
Well, there is a question for you from Turner. He is wondering if you have a count of how many wrecks there are in the Thousand Islands area.
Well, the actual number of wrecks is in the thousands. The number of found wrecks is probably in the hundreds, but the number of wrecks that we take paying customers to and therefore put a mooring on is probably, I was going to say in the Picton area, there's about 12. I think in Kingston, there's probably about 12. In the river, the shipwrecks that we actually have moored and the ones that we do, there's probably about 10, I think. So in the Brockville area, we have the Muskellunge, the Gaskin, the Lily Parsons, the JB King, and the Darien. So there's 5 in the Brockville area that we have moorings on. But then we also have other sites with like smaller shipwrecks or wrecks that are just sort of, they're a real wreck. It's just kind of a pile of timbers. So we do those as drift dives, but they're still kind of interesting to see. There is actually an old postal truck near Blockhouse Island that the divers can drift into. We kind of keep that quiet because it's very fragile and we actually don't want too many divers diving on that one. But that's really cool. It's a full postal truck, and there is a whole line of milk cans close by as well. And it's just a beautiful Chevy truck. I should have had a picture of that for you. But then up in Rockport, which is where we have our other boat, we've got the wreck of the Ash Island Barge and the wreck of the Kinghorn, which is just off the dock there. And usually we can go over to the US side where we have wrecks. We've got the Vickery, the Jodrey, the Keystorm, which is the biggest, probably the premier wreck in the area, because it starts at 25 feet and it goes down to about 112 feet. So it's perfect for new divers and it's perfect for more experienced divers. So it's great. You can take a group out and it's a dive for absolutely everybody. So one of the things that I would love to see, as well as, you know, our American friends coming over the border to come and visit and come and dive with us, is just that, you know, we could actually have the boat go to the US dive sites again. And it sounds silly, but they won't let us take our divers diving on the US wrecks because they consider it landing in the States. So we actually have to go through a whole bunch of hoops to take our dive boats across the border. And we have to check in at Bolt Castle, and we have to do a whole bunch of passenger information on the computer and emails and phone calls. But it's worth it because the wrecks are beautiful. So I hope that answers the question.
I believe you have. Thank you very much. That was a very, very interesting. And I think we're back to Mike to close this section.
Awesome. Helen, thank you so much, not only for this, but for all that you do, and your time and effort in putting this presentation together is, it's more than we had expected. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.